Yeah, so the other reason I've come up to the Lake District this weekend is that I've got a recce tomorrow for the Lakeland 100. That recce, or this particular part of the recce, is going to take in Buttermere round to Daleman, which is about a 35-mile stretch. And I figure it's important to do these recces. I did a full recce of the Spine Challenger course before I did that a couple of years ago. And it really does put you in good stead if you can afford the time to actually get out there and do a recce. It's good. There's 2 or 3 reasons why it's important if you can kind of manage the time to actually get out there. First is it really does allow you to kind of understand the terrain that you're going to be running over. I know that sounds maybe a bit daft, but you know, being a trail run, what have you, it's going to be trails, obviously. But it's just kind of important to understand whether it's going to be really boggy ground, or whether it's hard-packed kind of trails, or whether it's single-track trails, whether it's real kind of loose ground, which are the runnable parts of the trail, which are the kind of real good runnable parts of the trail, which are the kind of big significant hills that you're just going to kind of power walk up. All these things can make a difference when you're actually running it on the day of the actual race itself. Because if you know of the terrain and you're more aware of it, it's just easier on the actual day. You've taken that out of the equation, as it were. Especially that kind of significant bit around the runnable parts as well. If you know there's a runnable part coming up and you're kind of feeling a bit low, you know, just to kind of get into your stride and start running some of the actual course is good, and knowing familiarity, I think, is good on these long distance runs. The other thing really key to doing a recce is it just gives you a brilliant opportunity to test your kit. And that's not only the kit that you're going to be running in, whether it's your trail shoes, and just getting the right trail shoes for the right conditions. For instance, I did the Spine Challenger again this year in my Mudclaws, Innovate Mudclaws, and it wasn't as boggy or wet as it had been on the previous year. So because they're quite thin on the sole and there's not a huge amount of padding in there, I ended up absolutely battering my feet to the point where I lost a couple of toenails, which is not good. I'm still recovering from that. They don't look the best, but it just gives you an opportunity to test your kit, and that's everything from your trainers to your hard shell to the layering system that you're going to be using depending on the conditions. Just make sure that you kind of feel comfortable in your kit running these longer distances, and if you can do that on the actual trail that you're going to be running on, more the better. And then the other one is what's really key is the kind of navigational element of it as well. This is all going to be unfamiliar. The event that you're doing is unfamiliar to you, so the more you can go out and recce it and kind of understand where the course goes and the terrain it's going over, but from a navigational point of view, I think it's really important. And again, kind of going back to the Spine Challenger, when I first did it a couple of years ago, I recce'd most of the course. There was one section which I didn't recce, which was about a 25-mile section, which we happened to be running that at night, and I got horribly lost on it. The rest of it was absolutely fine, but I got really horribly lost on that particular section, and that was the only bit that I hadn't recce'd. So I think from a navigational point of view, it's just important to kind of get out there and just get familiar with the course again. It may not mean that you don't end up kind of getting lost or kind of taking the wrong route, but what it does mean is that because you're familiar with it, you'll know sooner rather than later than you've kind of taken a wrong turn, and you'll be able to get yourself back on track quicker than if you hadn't recce'd it. And it just saves all that time kind of wasted taking out maps, taking out your GPS and kind of double checking where you are, especially on a really long route where inevitably you're going to be going through little villages, towns or whatever, and they can be quite tricky to kind of navigate through because it's not always obvious where the where the actual trail goes. So I can't stress enough how important it is to actually kind of get out there and do a recce. If you've got the time. I appreciate that you're never always going to have the time to do the recces, but if you can, for those 3 reasons around testing out your kit, the navigational element of it, but also then kind of understanding the terrain that you're going to be running on, I think it's really important. And then another key one for me doing this recce tomorrow really is to meet some other people that are going to be doing the race with me. And hopefully have a good time doing this recce tomorrow.